Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations with a precious layout that is perfect for your spring memories. Today I'm going to share how I created this adorable baby page and show you how to layer multiple stencils to create a background design. I can't wait to share this project with you. I have this sweet little baby photo that I'm going to be memory keeping today, and I've decided to use this fab photo perspective from the May Fox box. I've also grabbed these plush little hearts, the cameras, and the paper snips. These items pair so well with these two paper patterns that I chose from my collection. As I create this page, I'll bring in a few other supplies, and I'll make sure to add them in the list in the description below, along with the link to the May Fox box. I have a piece of white cardstock for my background, and I'm going to place the photo in the center at the top. I'm going to be layering these two stencil designs below it. I'm going to start with the circle mask, and I'm going to brush a softer spun sugar ink over the design to create the background. This is a finer stencil, so I've used a little pixie spray on the back to help hold it in place. The spray is a temporary adhesive. I don't use it on all of my stencils, but it's great for those fine lined stencils that tend to shift when you're blending over them. Now that this image has been filled in, I'm going to lay the small heart stencil over the top. I'm keeping the masked circle stencil in place so that as I add the hearts, they'll look like they're part of the connected circle design. I chose a little bit darker pink for my hearts so that they would stand out over the lighter color. This heart stencil has two differently sized hearts, which requires me to move my stencil across the design so that I keep the size consistent. It took me a few moments to make sure that the second set of hearts didn't overlap the first, but it wasn't too difficult to do. I chose a tone-on-tone coloring, but this layer technique could be done with multiple colors. Bramble Fox currently has a few shape mask designs that you could use to layer other stenciled images. Now that all the hearts are added, I can remove that circle stencil and you will be able to see that the image is still intact where I layered those hearts. This is a fun way to use your stencils. Before I start adding my items to the page, I want to bring in one more stencil. The title perspective I am using is a lovely sky blue color, and I want to bring some of that to my background. So I'm using the Hugs and Kisses stencil to add some little X's to my circles. The blue chalk mousse is going to add a little bit of dimension and create what almost looks like blue cross stitches on my circle images. After adding those dimensional images, I've decided to bring in even more blue. Some of the items I want to add to my page are a darker teal color, so I'm going to add that in the form of stamps. This is a distressed script stamp, and it's just going to peek out behind my photo and my title. To create all my background images, I used Distress Oxide ink because I wanted to bring in some splatters of water over the page. Before I added the color, I did smush a little bit of ink on my glass board, added some water, and used a paintbrush to add some ink splatter. The larger drops of color reacted with my stamping and stenciling and created some pooling. I also filled my brush with clear water and splattered that onto the page, then used a paper towel to pick up the excess liquid. This created a really nice watercolor-like effect over the stamp design. After my background had dried, I brought in some pattern papers to back my photo. I selected two designs from Simple Stories. One is a darker teal and yellow plaid to complement the sepia tone photo, and the other is a bright pink ledger paper that matches the stenciled designs. This is a photo of our niece shortly after she arrived home. She spent quite a few months in the hospital after she was born, so it was such a sweet celebration to have her be able to be at home. I do like how these two patterns go well with the other colors I've added to the background, but at this point I feel like they are distracting from the photo. so I'm going to bring in a layer of vellum over the two patterns to soften them a bit. Before I adhere everything in place, I'm going to distress the edges of the papers and build a little pocket for my journaling or additional photo tag. I often talk about adding little pockets behind my photo, but I don't always show the process. These little pockets can be cut out with a die or made by hand. They have a score line 1/4 inch from the edge on 3 of the sides, and I like to add double-sided tape to these so that it's securely held in place behind my photo. The sides of the pocket just fold in and attach to the back of my photo or photo mat. Once all the items are in place, the tag fits right inside. Now it's time to start adding all the sweet embellishments to my page. On the right side of the photo, I'm adding one of those little plush hearts and a camera perspective. These are just tacked in place with a little liquid adhesive. Below the photo, I have a myriad of florals that I created with pattern paper and dies. The die collection I used has multiple floral pieces, and I just mixed and matched those to create these flowers. I cut them from both stripes and polka dot patterns that have a more muted tone. I chose pink and blue to match the items on the page, a little bit of purple, and some yellow. In a few of the centers, I added some white to soften them up even more. I wanted to bring a little texture to my page, so I added some embroidery stitches to each of the flowers. When I cut these out, the dies left some embossed lines on the petals, and I used those as my stitching guides. It's not too difficult to do, and it adds lovely details to the page. While I continue to add these to my layout, I would love it if you tap that subscribe button and let me know in the comments that you're new here. If you're already a subscriber, let me know that you're enjoying this video with a little thumbs up or a comment below. I always love reading about the new technique you learned. Behind the flowers, I'm going to tuck a few leaves in 2 different colors. I didn't add any stitching to these because I felt like they didn't need it. Once all those little floral pieces are in place, I brought in my perspectives and paper snips. I cut out a little purple phrase that says Fave Snapshot, and I tucked that next to the camera. Near the base of the page, I'm going to layer a couple of little items around my title to form an embellishment cluster. I have added another plush heart and a camera on the left side, and I'm going to layer the title perspective over it. I will need to add a little bit of foam tape to my title to raise it off the page a bit so that it fits over that camera. I use skinny foam tape for this because it fits well behind all of the letters. This has a strong adhesive, and I've never had any issues with it coming off of those acrylic perspectives. Because I already have 2 cameras on the page, I chose to create a nice visual triangle with a third one, and I placed it over the star on the title. I don't have any other stars on this page, and this camera covered it nicely. Below my title, I brought in another paper snip to finish off the cluster. I chose a pink colored one to match some of the other pink elements on the page. I'm going to add a few more details to this layout, and then I'll share the completed design with you. Off camera, I backed the photo in a softer blue cardstock. This brings your focus to the photo and that lovely title at the base of the page. Near that title, I added another plush heart in pink and tacked a few little pink enamel dots around the title. I'm making this page for my sister, so I left room for her to add journaling at the base of the page, or she can hide it behind the photo. She also has room here to add another photo if she wishes. Today's page is filled with stenciled images, stamps, florals, and perspectives. I love how that layered stencil design turned out and how all the colors complement this precious photo. I hope that today's project inspired you to give this stenciling technique a try. If you're one who enjoys pinning photos to inspiration boards, I have added still shots to my website for you to save. I want to thank you for joining me as I created another scrapbook layout and shared this memory with you. If you would like to see more of my projects, you can visit my channel or follow Miss Carrie's Creations online. If you have any questions about this project or the supplies I used, feel free to leave a comment. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.